Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to another live stream of Hearthstone. It's a little weird for me today to be live streaming because I took basically all of yesterday off to watch the 2-hour and 45-minute long Blade Runner 2049. I liked it in a lot of ways. It's very similar and kind of just either exactly the same as the original Blade Runner or the opposite of the original Blade Runner, but the original Blade Runner was good, so at least one of the many cuts of it is good. So it worked. I could probably get into that more if people are interested, but this isn't a movie review channel, so there's not too much to say, and a lot of it would be spoiling. Let's see, what do we need? We need mage cards, priest cards, or paladin warrior cards. And since today is Wednesday, I only need to get 2 things done, so it would actually be a dumb idea to play the priest cards. I should hold on to this and see if I can trade it out for another day. I should focus on 5 paladin and warrior victories, and that might work with the new tavern brawl, which is our main focus right now. So what is this tavern brawl now? Choose your spellbook carefully, champion. Pick 10 cards, and any time you draw a card, you instead discover a copy from that deck. Well, let's see, mage. Let's see. I believe there is something I could do here. Do I have the guy that will give me the Archmage? No, I don't. But if we took a board clear, if we took the character that made spells cheaper, there. If we took draw cards, let's see. If we took this and this, might even take that. No. I don't need Forbidden Flame. We could take Duplicate. And we want the other one, Ice Block, and we'll take Ice Barrier. And let's see, what else? Vaporize, I guess, and Fireball. I feel like I should probably trade out Fireball, but well, maybe trade out Vaporize. No, I think we're good. Let's try this. Now, I'll have to give it some thought to see if I can actually get that to work. YouTube again doesn't want to announce that I'm streaming. I waited till 3:15, so that's right in the middle, honestly. Between 3 o'clock when my last video was announced by schedule, And what else?
None can escape my fury.
You asked for it.
So, I guess I could have waited another 15 minutes, but I shouldn't be sitting around waiting that long and doing nothing. I actually had to play the game that I'm pre-recording because I was nearly an hour in it and I still was not to the point where I could save the game and leave and just quit. So, and I certainly see the problem with this game. It's called Orion Legend of the something or other. Legend of Zama, I would call it, but that's not the name of it. Interesting. So coins and backstabs. Ooh. That is well played. Well, let's, I suppose, get to the news then. I'll start reading. This is clearly not news that I'm looking at right now. Let's see, what can we... Let's try this and see what happens.
Job's done.
Oh no. Hey, they've invented a new card, but it costs 1 mana to play. I would have thought that would have been 0 mana. Okay, so that article was garbage. Let's move on to another article that has some importance. It's just, that was ridiculous viral marketing for what would the Mordor Shadow of War game.
Job's done.
So Oculus has a new prototype they're working on called the Oculus Santa Cruz. Let's see if we can get any more details than just the name of it, though. It looks like it might have 4 sensors on it that kind of like the Oculus Vive, just kind of stealing that idea. This. Why do I not have any Sorcerer's Apprentices yet? This whole deck only works if I get a lot of Sorcerer's Apprentices. Santa Cruz... yeah, it seems like they're not saying anything really about it unless I'm gonna watch this video. No, it's just a bunch of people talking. Moving on then. We've got the name and that's kind of it. Well, there probably won't be too much news here. Let's see. Play this. Draw 2 cards.
Job's done.
Let's see. The company Nicholas, which I think did they make before? I think they made Shovel Knight, but maybe not. So, yeah, no reference as far. I know Nicholas has made something, and a company called Freak Zone that I've never heard of has announced a Nintendo eShop game called Night Terrors for the Switch. It kind of looks like Ghosts and Goblins, but Ghouls and Goblins, sort of. Let's play this. Let's go ahead and kill this. Like, honestly, the game Night Terrors doesn't look that good. Yeah, come to think of it, now I'm looking at it, but whatever, it's news. Alright, and on top of the Oculus Santa Cruz, there's now the Oculus Go, a $200 standalone headset that doesn't need a PC or phone. But in all honesty, at $200 you're effectively paying for the cost of a screen of a phone without any of the potential upgrades that you might have. Like, the thing about the Samsung Galaxy VR is theoretically that thing would still work if it just had a way of changing the micro USB plug into a into a USB-C plug. That way they could move on from that, and that's kind of all it needs. And then throughout the years you could spend $30 on the Galaxy VR and then go through maybe 3 or 4 generations of different phones that all plug into the thing, because it's just really glass lenses otherwise. Alright, so we did that. But I do have to admit, for that Tavern Brawl I wasn't completely satisfied, and we didn't play as many mage cards as I would have liked. So I'm just gonna hop back in here and let's just continue playing this. Let's see. Like, I think it's a bad idea since nobody's seen the Oculus Go, but even just at this perspective, I think it's a bad idea to lock yourself into what very possibly would be a bad screen, or a screen that's just not upgradable. You're effectively buying a TV at this point. A TV that I don't believe has any input. Like, I'm not seeing anything here that shows like an HDMI input or any item that would in any other way make that allow you to put anything. So it's just gonna wirelessly connect to the internet, download a few apps. It probably doesn't have a infinite number of space. Let's see. Do we want to do this right now? Does it matter? I don't think it matters. Moving on to the next story. The H1Z1 Pro League announced it will offer players $50,000 minimum salary and some kind of player's bill of rights, which I don't know what that would really mean. It's an interesting idea, giving players a bill of rights. It's just kind of hard to figure out in what form or fashion can you guarantee, and what can you guarantee. Like, the United States Bill of Rights is really just a piece of paper that establishes the beginnings of law in the United States. Getting victories, but I'm not playing cards. That sucks. And I don't know how the H1Z1 League is going to... I guess it's just kind of a promise that we're going to do these things. And I bet the quote-unquote Bill of Rights really is just a bunch of rules. Like, we're going to kick out people who harass other players or do offensive things. Which, fair enough. In any sports league, that's really what it gets down to, is that there's a required level of civility and rule following to ensure the game doesn't, the league doesn't devolve into hooliganism. My biggest issue here is that I'm not sure H1Z1 is going to be that popular for that long, or is even that popular right now. So the game that's already come out for several other things, Serial Cleaner, where you have to stealthily clean up murder scenes, is coming to Switch later this year. Let's see if we can find an actual date of this.
Job's done.
Let's see. Is there a specific date? So there's a lot of indie games. No, it just says summer 2017. There's a lot of games coming to Switch from kind of indie games. Golf Story, Stardew Valley, SteamWorld Dig 2, Thimbleweed Park, Axiom Verge. Axiom Verge is probably one of the strangest offerings there, because that
Job's done.
really is going to bite into any market share of a Metroid game that comes to Switch. But the next Switch Metroid game I think they're going to make is going to be a Metroid Prime game, not a 2D Metroid game. But eventually they are going to get down to the point where they get rid of the 3DS and new 2DS and all of that, and you are going to be only Switch for everything. This. Interesting. Summoning these as creatures don't count as spells. Let's see. Apparently yet another Windows 10 update put some PCs into a blue screen of death loop. I wouldn't take your advice from me if you're having that problem, but I would inherently stay behind on the updates on Windows 10 as much as you can. I think I'm pretty far behind. I don't know why, but it just seems like Windows has decided that my build isn't quite ready for the next major update, or maybe it's doing the major updates and I'm not even realizing it. But I've been pretty happy with Windows 10, as much as happy as I've been with anything else. There must have been an Oculus Rift conference, because here's yet another story of an animated short called Melita, M-E-L-I-T-A, but if it's an animated short, then it's not even a game, is it? And yeah, I'm gonna run out of things to talk about rather quickly here. Yep, I think... Did I even
Done.
start the timer? Darn it, I didn't. But I do know what time I started, so I can just take 15 minutes off and start it now. Yeah. So I'd highly recommend people get on the chat, because I think we're just gonna maybe push it to an hour, to an hour and 30 minutes, 2 45-minute episodes today, if we can even push it that far, because then the news is short. I haven't listened to the Bombcast. The PC Gamer Show podcast is streaming right now, so I won't have anything to respond to any of that stuff. Not that I really even respond to those things very often, as they tend to barely talk about one thing, if they talk about anything. And I've lost, but at least I'm playing the cards. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds peaked over 2 million concurrent players. So that's quite a lot when you compare that to the Steam Spy image I'm looking at, where the next highest thing was Dota 2 at 625,000 players, and then Counter-Strike Global Offensive at 538,000 players. It kind of feels like an unsustainable flash in the pan style game. Like, I just can't imagine, or it would be an unprecedented action if people are still playing Battlegrounds a year from now. And it is the next big thing by 4 times. And there's just always going to be people playing it.
Oh, it is on.
But I mean, I guess it could happen. It's just, it's hard to imagine things happening that haven't happened before. But I think there will be more competition that shows up, if I was to guess. There was an article talking, I think I already mentioned it, but talking about just how difficult it is for new players in a Hearthstone. So I wouldn't be amazed if people start falling off Hearthstone a lot more and going to other games, other styles of games even. Like, I could even see myself falling off Hearthstone. If I can find some kind of card game that's slow enough that where you can browse the internet and talk about what's on the what's happening. Let's see, I needed to play duplicate, didn't I? Yeah, that was a mistake. Let's see. There is an Atlas game called Eritan Odyssey 5, E-R-T-I-N, T-I-A-N, Odyssey 5, that will launch October 17th in Europe. Will this work? How about we do this, and then this,
Job's done.
and then end the turn. And DLC for this game, this Atlas game, will be scheduled and announced. I see it's for the 3DS, but there's also a CD version of it, so like, I don't understand. Maybe it's an actual audio CD. Yeah, we'll do this. Yeah, it's just a 3DS game, but it comes with an audio CD. Let's look at the trailer since we're stretching for time here. More and more I've been noticing that the number of views I've been getting for Hearthstone streams are going down. So whatever it was that was having their views go up, YouTube has stopped really supporting that. Or mostly I think it was just the fact that I was streaming for hours and hours and hours, and now that I've gotten it down to a reasonable amount of time, then people just aren't online at the same time. And I don't know what to do about that. I mean, effectively it just means that YouTube wants me to be like a Twitch streamer, and I really don't want to spend all my time every day Twitch streaming.
Job's done.
Or streaming Hearthstone in particular, and I don't want to change my channel like that. So I think I'm just gonna fall back into the old way of doing things, because I'm not willing to change. Like, I'm not willing to change my channel and do no pre-recorded footage just so I can try to get a few more people to actually watch. Let's see. If I played this, and then do this, and then take this, and then do this.
Job's done.
We have Darian on the chat saying hello. Hey Darian. Let's see, next bit of news, of the very little news we have. Final Fantasy XIV has a huge update going live today. Adds a Final Fantasy XII raid. Final Fantasy XIV is the online one, I believe. Let's watch the trailer since we've got so little to do. How's your day going? Asks Darian. I'm in a weird position here. Like, I have been barely streaming for 15 minutes. There's very little news to talk about, and I'm just gonna end up like finishing this stream after like an hour and 30 minutes, unless we can talk about things on chat, because that's the only other input I really have to do. Is I can talk about the boring old news, or I can talk about what people want me to talk about, or just talk to the chat. But it gets really quiet and really laid back if nobody has anything to say. And as we do more and more streams and we get to know each other a little bit better, we kind of run out. We become like the old friends who've known each other for years and don't have any more stories to tell. I'm also in a weird position because I watched Blade Runner 2049. I almost said Tokyo 2049 or Tokyo Babylon 2049, an old anime. I watched Blade Runner 2049 or whatever it's called, and yesterday, and that was literally the only thing I did because it was like 2 hours and 45 minutes long, and so I've kind of done no recording at all in between last stream and this. Darian says, I had a huge PSAT today, which was a practice for a state test I have in this state. I am in the United States, and I know what the PSAT is, but I suppose we can explain it for anybody who isn't in the United States. I kind of have a funny story about the SAT when I took it, because I didn't care at all. Like, as far as I know, there's no state in the United States that requires you to pass the SAT or pre-SAT to graduate from high school. The SAT and PSAT are, well, the PSAT is just a practice for the SAT. But the SAT is really just kind of a test you have to take to get into college. Unless you are kind of older and you don't go directly from high school to college, at which time there is actually a different test that I ended up taking also. So there's this sandwich that is named after a very old comic book character called the Dagwood. And this sandwich is a joke sandwich because it's just everything thrown on it. It is a giant sandwich. The morning before I took the SAT, I was at, I believe, a Denny's, which is a breakfast restaurant. It's not particularly good. I wouldn't recommend people go to it, honestly, because they don't really hire the best of chefs or have any real consistency in their food, but they're cheap. So the SAT is, I believe, a 3-hour test, maybe 4 hours even. I don't think it goes as high as 5 hours, but it is a long test, and you are not allowed to leave in the test, not even to go to the bathroom. So, doing a little foreshadowing here, I start this test. I don't care about it at all. I'm at a restaurant getting a free meal off of my parents, so I said, you know what, give me the breakfast Dagwood. I'm just gonna eat this giant sandwich that was like a breakfast bun with scrambled eggs and sausage bits and bacon, and I imagine there was a few more things in it than even that. All just in this giant sandwich. And so I ate this thing, and I'm taking the SAT. I don't care about the SAT at all. I never cared about any test, and at the time I really wasn't in the mental space or mood to really even think about going to college. Consequently, I didn't immediately go to college when I graduated from high school, which is going to be really ridiculous when I get to the end of the story, because well, you'll just see. So I eat the Dagwood. Halfway through the test, I've really got to go to the bathroom. This has been a huge, heavy meal, and they have already said specifically, if you leave the room, you fail. And I was like, well, I guess I got to ask either that or I'm just gonna end up soiling myself in the middle of this test, and that would be even worse. So I said, can I go to the bathroom? And they said, fine, whatever. And they let me go. So thank goodness for that. I don't believe I was done with the test at that point, but I was probably rather close to it, and there was a decent chance that I could have even, if I just rushed to it, finished it there. But at the moment, I didn't care. So if they were going to fail me and not count the scores, it wouldn't matter anyways. Now the story gets a little weird, and I'm going to date myself a little bit and give away some personal information I probably shouldn't give away. But I happened to take the test, the SAT, the week of, I think, I think it was of September the 11th. So, like, September the 11th happened a few days after I took the SAT. And if I'm remembering correctly, which I could be remembering it wrong, we're going to get Paladin victories, Paladin War victories now. For some reason, that they thought they had lost some mail. Like, I don't even know what the reason was for this. It seems kind of ridiculous, and now that I think about it, but for some reason, they thought they had lost the mail. And so the SAT people said, everybody who had taken the test, come back and take it again for free. Which you can take the SAT multiple times. There's a little bit of limits there. You can't just take it over and over and over again. But you can take it multiple times. You may have to pay to take it multiple times. You may have had to pay the first time to take it. But anyways, because they thought they lost the mail, they had us take it a second time. And I was like, okay, so I'll go do this again. Suffice it to say, the second time I took the SAT, I did not have the breakfast Dagwood for breakfast. Did not have that pressure. But I took it. Still didn't really care. Still didn't feel like I wanted to go to college. Here, my Hearthstone deck tracker is crashing. I'll have to relaunch it. It was a little bit more of a case of the college I wanted to go to is in Richmond, Virginia. No, Richmond, Washington. Yeah, how they mess that up? It's right next to Nintendo of America, and it's the people that do, the very small number of people that actually do end up working for Nintendo of America usually come out of that college. And suffice it to say, if I had gone to that college, I have a decent chance of being on the team that made the first Portal game. Because even though that school usually feeds students into Nintendo of America, Gabe Newell of Valve visited the place, saw what they were working on, it liked them, and hired them out of school. Probably pretty poor for the career of the people that made Portal 1, honestly, because they made Portal 1, and some of them, the ones that got hired, may have made Portal 2, but then they've now 10 years later done kind of nothing. It would have been good for their lifestyles. It would have kept them employed. I think one of the ladies who worked on Portal 1 eventually became the CEO of the Candy Crush company King, but none of them went on to make any more masterpieces after Portal 2. That's simply because Valve just isn't ambitious about making games. Like, I'm really setting myself up for a horrible play. So yeah, I wanted to go to that school, which is called Digipin. I was trying to remember the name. Digipin. You can look it up online if you're interested. Arguably, I would say the options these days are more wide and varied. There's still a lot of colleges that have video game programming courses that are built around that. I wouldn't recommend that for your bachelor's of science, just a regular bachelor's degree. I'd recommend having a more generalized computer science degree and then specializing for a master's degree in video game programming if you want to go in that route. That way you can always fall back and leave the video game industry once you realize that they don't pay very well and they work you too hard and give you too much crunch, too much late hours. I'm not telling this story very well, but so I took the SAT the second time, still not interested because I knew I wasn't going to DigiPen, like, and so if I was being childish and stubborn, because I was mostly still a child, I was in high school, and I was saying, well, if I can't get what I want, why am I going to waste my time on something I don't want? It's still pretty logical. Like, why go to a different college when the ones that were going to be available to me were not good at computer science? And that proved to be very true, because eventually I did go to my local college, which was really the only one that was available to me. And available to me is a weird thing, because I did have scholarships that would have paid for some of going to DigiPen, but it wouldn't have paid for all of it. And I didn't live nearby it, and so sadly my family wasn't capable or willing to support me to go to what I wanted to do. Which, whatever, I mean, in the end it probably was the right choice. We can never really know. I took the second SAT, and then they found the mail. So they had the original SAT test, and they had the second SAT test, and they graded both of them, and at the time, I believe a perfect score for the SAT was 1600. They've since changed it now, where I think it's now closer to 1900 as a perfect score. So, and there's an essay in there, and there's a lot of room for you not to get perfect scores on the SAT. I don't think they particularly want to give out perfect scores. But they tested both of my SATs, and they found that the first one scored higher. They told everybody that you will get the higher score of whichever two of both of them once they found them. And so they came back and they told me, congratulations, you made, I believe I made something around a 1590. So that's my story of taking the SAT twice, not caring about either one. Did not care. Just kind of randomly put in the, like, I didn't do something like Abacadabra where you're just putting in a pattern in the thing. I looked at the questions. I said, I think this is the answer. I answered it. I moved on. In general, it's just not, it was just like, there was no stress there. And I think stress really is the killer for most people, because I certainly graduated all up to high school just by not stressing and not caring, not doing half the homework, not doing half the assignments, and whenever they would put a test in front of me and I had nothing better to do because I was stuck in class, I would just go, okay, I think this is the answer, this is the answer, this is the answer, and fill it out and usually get an A or B or something. I imagine I was subconsciously paying attention when people were talking in class and just consciously not, being rather ADD about it. Darian says lol. Yeah. So yeah, I got nearly a perfect score on the SAT and did nothing with it. Literally nothing. There was several years in which I tried to run a different business and just tried to enter the work environment as a high school graduate, and none of that really worked. And then I matured maybe just ever so little bit. I matured just a little bit. I was tired of doing jobs. I quit one job and I said, alright, it's time, I want to try college. So I went to the local college and did the application, and they said, your SAT scores are too old. They don't count. You have to take the other test, which is the ACT. That's the name of it. So I had to spend another 3 hours or so doing the ACT. I don't remember what I got, but it wasn't anything like a perfect score. I've been out of school for many years and forgotten all of the garbage they had taught me. And so then I went to the college, and in the college, within the first couple of weeks, I went in as a math major because I knew I didn't want to do any major amounts of writing, because I hated writing and doing essays. They overly focus, I feel, in the education system, at least they did when I was in it, on writing. And so I said I'd be a math major. I remember I liked math and thought I was pretty good at it. And then, so they started me in like an Algebra 2 class, and they gave us a proficiency test on the first day. Then they said, you failed the proficiency test, you're going to have to go to Algebra 1. So the next day I'm at Algebra 1, and they give us a proficiency test, and I failed that test, and because I'd just forgotten all of this stuff. Like, everything you learn in school, for the most part, is worthless. The things you learn in school that are useful are how to get along with people, how to follow rules, how to kowtow to authority, bow down to the king of the classroom, the teacher. And there are some basic things in kindergarten that you actually need to know, like your ABCs, counting to 100, doing simplistic math in your head. I mean, you still look pretty dumb if you don't know 10 times 10 is 100 and have to pull out a calculator out of that. But you can almost get away with even not knowing that in most jobs, as long as you can hide it. Hiding your incompetence is a very useful skill. So yeah, I was in Algebra 1, took the proficiency test. They said you failed, you need to go to remedial math. Remedial pre-algebra. And so I go in there, and I'm in there for about a week or so, and I'm kind of struggling even to remember or relearn these concepts, which probably means, just at the core of it, that I got very poor education out of the public school system, which would not be surprising. But I wasn't enjoying any of it either. I was taking other classes on top of math. I wanted to be a computer science major still, a programmer, and in the programming classes in particular, they're teaching me things that I did remember, because those were the things that I was excited about, and yet the person who's teaching me Computer Science 1 in college is teaching me the same thing I learned in high school, yet they don't understand it. And it became very obvious that they didn't understand programming at all. Also, the teacher happened to be the wife of the head of that department, so this was just a hire. He hired his wife and is getting her a big paycheck for doing a very bad job. And so she was taking off points because I misspelled a word. But I misspelled the word consistently in the programming, so it worked. And so she's taking off for grammar in a computer program that nobody cares about the grammar. And so I wasn't going to get anywhere with her, and it would have been 2 years before I even started to learn anything new in computer programming, because I had already done 2 years of high school, and they were teaching out of the exact same book, the exact same lessons. So I'm like, I don't want to waste 2 years of my life learning things I don't care about, things I won't use, or and things I already know. Meanwhile, getting graded by a teacher who doesn't know how to program herself. And so the math, there was one bit of math that I could do, even though I'd forgotten so much math. And that was the math that, if I dropped out of college under a certain time, dropped all the classes, I would get most of the money back for the tuition. I could sell back the books that I'd paid. You pay like $500 for college books each. I could sell them all back for most of the money. But if I waited another week or two, everything was going to be a lot more expensive. It was going to cost me a lot more money. So, without telling my family, who were really gung-ho about me going to college and sticking with it, I went and dropped out of college. And I don't even think I told them I had dropped out for about a week later. I think I was very cowardly, just pretending like I was still going to college. But I dropped out and got as much money back as possible, and that was my experience of college. So I've had some college, as in about 2 weeks of college, and realized again it wasn't for me. And then I moved on to a different job that I worked at for many years, way too long, and just moved on with my life. And I don't really regret it. My only real regret there is I should have tried harder or found a way to go to the college I wanted to, because I feel like that would have certainly kept me more motivated. The running story and issue here is that if you're not ready emotionally, if you're not motivated to put in the time and work, you should probably just do nothing or try to find yourself motivated. If I had gone to DigiPen, I very possibly would have hated it and dropped out 2 weeks into it too. But I would have done that right after I had gotten out of high school instead of several years. Going back to college at an older age is not helpful at all. But if I had gone to DigiPen, maybe I would have stuck with it. Maybe I would have ended up at Valve. Maybe I would have ended up at Nintendo of America. Or maybe I would have ended up making a YouTube channel. In the longer run, looking back, I'm kind of glad I didn't end up as a programmer, because I did not realize or know how bad the life is for video game programmers. You really have to have a lot of passion, and clearly I didn't have enough passion, so I'm probably better off. And now I'm doing this YouTube channel because it's what I want to do, and I'm happy with what I'm doing, what I want to do. So I seriously doubt I would ever go back to college or try to be a programmer again. I have learned a lot more about programming and can moderately help people with programming on a high level, but I don't have any deep experience with any specific program. So making a game from scratch or anything like that would be beyond my reach. Let's see. So as far as Darien, I would say take the PSAT. You've already taken it, and look at the scores, study the scores. There was a video game sort of PSAT test prep thing I played on my computer when I did it. But don't stress it. The SAT doesn't really mean that much. You can always go back and do it again, and stress really will be the killer. So I think that's long enough for one episode, so stay tuned if you're watching live. Everybody else, as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.